Good morning, Business Object fans. This is Bruno with 360 Suite, live from my Boston home office today in Massachusetts. We've got an awesome weather. That's phenomenal. We're really going to have a good time today all together. So first of all, thanks all for registering because let's say Bob J is still super popular because we've got over 1,000 registrants today. So that's really, it's really good. So we probably have that many registrants because we've actually got two Patricks today that will be co-presenting with me. So, one is, it'll say on the screen, Patrick at 360 Suite. So Patrick actually is our COE. And then the other Patrick is at SAP and is also COE. So I shouldn't say COE just to figure out who's the right Patrick. Well, one, by the way, has got a Santa hat, not the other one. And by the way, Patrick is Patrick Sims. I'm kind of disappointed you don't have a Christmas hat today. You haven't been a good boy during the year.
Well, I'm worried about the coal. I'm worried about the coal in my stockings, Bruno. But yes, I did forget my Christmas hat. I apologize.
Well, if you want, I've got one I can share with you. If
you throw it on virtually for me.
So that will work. So, well, Patrick Perrier, do you want to say just a couple words to introduce yourself for people who don't know you yet?
Okay, thanks, Bruno. Everybody, live from the North Pole of London, England. So nice to be here today. Last webinar of the year. So we, happy to finish the year on a big show. Service Pack 1, most awaited Service Pack of the year. So very happy to be here.
Patrick Sims, a couple words.
Sure. So, hey, everyone. This is Patrick Sims coming from the swamp outside of Washington, D.C. We are going to get snow tomorrow, I think, though, so it covers the swamp nicely. I've been with the company about 19 years now. I came over via Business Objects, so I've known Bruno and Patrick and crowd for many times, many years. But yeah, very excited to end the year. This is, I think, perhaps my last virtual engagement. With some big news, Service Pack 1, and hoping that for those who like to wait for Service Packs, I'm hoping that we'll see a lot of flurry of 4.3 attention in the coming months.
Thank you very much, Patrick, or Patrick Sims, I should say. Before we start, just as usual during all these LinkedIn live streams, is feel free to ask your questions. What we'll do today is we'll take a couple questions as it goes, but we'll probably try to take most of the questions at the end, and we'll try to keep that as interactive as we can. And by the way, I see a comment from Stefan, actually, who's based in Scotland. He's saying, well, it's raining. I'm not surprised about that, Stefan. So sorry about that. Anyway, we'll take the questions as they come. And today I'm really excited to be co-presenting with you around the long-awaited 4.3 SP1 because let's face it, nobody really wants to be the first one. So I think a lot of people were really waiting for SP1. And funny enough, I was talking to one of our customers, actually SAP. I think when was that, on Friday or Thursday last week? Is actually they were already working to install SP1, so that was fun. And if Vazoo's on, hey, Vazoo, I hope your install went well. So, well, Patrick, I'll pass it over to you, Patrick Sims.
All right. Well, thanks, Bruno. So the usual disclaimer, of course, because I think we are going to pop up a little bit of news about Service Pack 2 and Service Pack 3 and plans along that. So the usual disclaimer, don't base your buying decisions on the things that you're going to see because they can change, of course. And first and foremost, of course, SAP is committed to continue to invest in the on-premise BI suite. Don't know why we continue to have to say that, but I guess the FUD from the competitors just keeps the whole Bob J is dead line strong. But no, it is not. Bob J is here to stay, and we are committed to invest in the on-premise BI suite. So what does that mean for SAP? It means that our analytics BI portfolio is comprised of two key solutions, right? So obviously SAP Analytics Cloud, you could be forgiven for thinking that's all we have since the marketing machine takes over there. But it is, it's where we're going from an innovation standpoint in terms of where we're embedding our operational reporting from our Cloud Suite perspective. It's very much at the heart of our analytics strategy. But the Business Objects BI Suite is there, of course, as well. There are many of you out there who prefer or need to manage your applications from an on-premise perspective. There are on-premise capabilities, offline being one of them, for instance, that still are there and still very important to you. But we've also seen it's really the combination of both those solutions side by side, working more from an interoperable or hybrid stance. And that's really, where we're investing, not just in SAC itself with all of the augmented analytics and planning combined with the BI and visual, and what we're doing with Business Objects, right, where we have 4.3, where we've totally overhauled the user experience and harmonized it with the rest of the suite. We've got tighter integration with Analytics Cloud and a whole bunch of enhancements that we are continuing to evolve Business Objects. But then that interoperability between the two, I think, is one of the key things to allow you to move into the cloud at your own pace. But when you do that, you are fully enabled to reuse your existing investment from the Business Objects side. And so I think that's a huge advantage to you and to us in the market. For those who are perhaps new to the 4.3 talk track, the key themes of the release focused on far right side enterprise readiness. As always, we're always trying to improve everything in the plumbing there, and then hybrid on the far left, as we've talked about, right? So what was dubbed the Live Universe connector, which is now the Live Data connector. The ability for SAC to use universes and now Webby documents and Crystal reports as data sources, and the ability for you to push your Business Objects security up into the cloud when you're provisioning your tenant. All great things we're doing from the hybrid standpoint. And then the user experience was really one of the huge things. As long as I've been at Business Objects, which was just before the Crystal acquisition, and so in the years of XI and things like that, one of the first things we talked about was trying to harmonize the user experience for that end user. And we've now finally done that with 4.3, so that Webby especially looks and feels like Lumira Discovery, and more importantly, Analytics Cloud. And so we've harmonized the user experience. We've modernized and upgraded the user experience for Webby so that it's perhaps not as daunting. That double ribbon circa 2008 Windows style, when you've got a user who's perhaps never been past Excel and they go in and take a look at that, they're like, oh man, this is a Formula One race car, I can't drive. So I think what we've done with simplifying the user experience is huge for us to co-opt that user base, because really Webby was not necessarily the first, but one of the first, certainly the most powerful, self-service tools out there. And I'd say, actually, we know that it is still the most ubiquitous self-service BI tool out there on the market today. Okay, so enough preamble. Let's talk Service Pack 1. And so what we're going to cover in the slides here is, and you can see really kind of three key things. From a Webby standpoint, there are a whole slew of usability and other enhancements that we've put in. We, of course, have new data sources. And then from the BI Launchpad perspective, we have some items to cover as well. With that, Bruno and Patrick had asked me not to totally bore you with slides. Are there any upfront questions before we get into the meat of this?
Well, first of all, I'd like to get some feedback from the audience around which version of BobJ they're using today. So are they in 3.1? Are they maybe still in 4.0? It still exists. I've actually seen a prospect last week who was in XR2. So if you can just tell us in which BobJ version you are, it's just going to give us an indication around what's the status of your platform. And Patrick, Perrier, do you have any questions or any comment to do to Patrick Sims?
Not yet. Not yet. I'm already excited about the SP2 and SP3. So, yeah, I don't want to hold you, Patrick Sims, and yeah, I'll come back to you on that.
I see somebody who's pretty brave. I see Vetri, who's actually on YouTube, because you can actually follow the event on YouTube as well, who's in 4.3 SP0. So you're probably the only person out of 500 plus customers that I know that's in SP0. So most of the people, we get like 30 people commenting right now, are in 4.2. That's the vast majority, SP6, SP7. So Patrick, I'll let you continue.
All right. So Patrick, you're going to have to sit through the whole slide deck before we get to Service Pack 2 and 3, but hopefully you'll be there. All right. So let's start talking Webby. So usability enhancements. And by the way, there's a nice blog out there that Christian Assoun put out, and you'll note that most of these enhancements are actually requested by you, the customer base. So I think that's a great thing for us, that, number one, to know that we are listening to you, and number two, that, some things may seem perhaps not as important to you, but it's something that was requested by the user community, and that's not the beta community. That's the, folks using 4.3 live right now. Okay, so first and foremost, usability. We've improved the side panels. So now you can actually open and close either of these two side panels independently, or both at once, or close them all. It's a minor thing, but it is a bit of an annoyance, I think. But because these panels are part of that simplification of the entire user experience, but we then don't want them always loitering out there. So that was a nice ability for us to open and close those independently. We're also trying to, I talked about harmonization a lot, and so we're also trying to make sure that from a visual standpoint, icons, different, avatars, all those kinds of things are starting to coalesce across the platform. So, especially with SAC and with the broader SAP, user interfaces and experiences that we have out there. So we have some new icons in the main and build side panels both. So on the build side, it's, whether you're doing data or format, for those who've used SAC, you'll recognize those. And then in the main side panel, talking about, object structure, comments, properties, the visuals are starting to make a little more sense as we, standardize that across. The commentary. So one of the things that was asked for was to bring the copy all button back. So the commentary is certainly a great capability that we have within Webby, and a lot of people like to, especially someone like me with older eyeballs, it's always nice to kind of take the whole discussion, copy it, and maybe view it in something other than Webby to try and blow it up and get better perspective on that. So the copy all button is back. Hopefully there's someone out there giving a high five. And then back to icons again, right? So this is kind of just throughout the whole user interface. You'll also notice that we've brought color back. So, for those who've been longtime Webby users, the measure with the yellow ruler, for instance, that ruler is now yellow again. We've got the details in green again. Again, it's a minor thing, but for the ease of use, and a lot of people are much more visually oriented at this point, I think it's something that is nice to have. It does bring back, for that traditional Webby crowd, some of the coloring that they're used to as well. And I think that it also, again, from the user harmonization standpoint, is kind of a nice thing. Data source icons as well, right? So we've got BW, we've got HANA, we've got relational and OLAP connections, and then HTTP connections for HANA as well. User interface persistence. This to me is very big, actually. So the selections that you see listed are saved so that when you're editing your Webby document and you save and close, when you come back in, you don't have to, monkey around with your panels and all of the other things that are kind of, a pain to adjust. It all comes back. So whether the main and or build panels are open or closed, which tabs you've selected in those panels, the display view that you chose in the objects tab for the main panel, the size of the dialog boxes, the open and closed statuses of different sections and filter bars and formula bars, and also color palette selections that you've made. And again, it may not seem like much, but for those of you who are in the trenches doing this work day in, day out, it's one of those nice things that you're not having to spend 5 to 10 minutes to get the environment back to where you want it to be. Input controls. So we've now added the ability to create input control groups, and they are automatically added to the filter bar with all of the input controls contained within that group. This is very nice from an advanced filtering perspective, and it's it's very useful then for the end users to be able to see that in the filter bar. And then contextual menu, I'm huge on this. I loved it in Lumira and Analytics Cloud, and I love it in Webby. I was always a right mouse click guy. So when you are, the floating toolbar actions are now part of the right click contextual menu. So when I right click and I then want to get to data and I right click on data again, I'm going to see my add filter, add sort, add rank, add breaks. So again, just from how you have interacted in Webby through the years, this is a nice enhancement that we've got all of those contextual actions as part of that right click motion. Inserting charts, another kind of interesting one. I never quite understood how 4.3 Service Pack 0 fell short, but here we are where the insert chart button, all of the chart types are now there for the category menu, so you're able to insert anything that you want to see from a charting standpoint without having to go through extra actions to get there. So that's usability. Another quick break, Bruno, Patrick, any comments?
Yes, I've got a couple questions anyway. There are loads of questions actually coming over. So thanks a lot for your feedback, by the way, on the version. So most of you, definitely are in 4.2. So that's actually quite good. So we've got first question from James. So James was asking, does the HTML client have a Java applet functionality, included Excel as data source?
Well, we will get to some of that. So if you could hold that question, we'll see some of those enhancements coming.
No problem. Then we have another question from Francisco. Actually, just before that one, it was funny. There was one of the person who was on who says, well, SPOO has always been like a driving car at night without headlights on. Well, that's why most people are waiting for SP1. So that was a good one, I have to say.
Yeah.
So,
and no windshield wipers in the rain either.
So that was that was actually quite good. And then there was another question as well, is do you have a natural language processing with 4.3?
Yeah, not yet. But we certainly have it in Analytics Cloud, and so it's something that we'll be looking at bringing into the Webby sphere as well.
Okay. Probably I'll let you continue.
All right. Okay, so hyperlinks, right? Another great thing that we've got, and Bruno and 360 have done some nice webinars on how to use Webby as a lightweight dashboarding tool, and hyperlinks is certainly a big thing around that. For those of you who are in 4.3, you know that the hyperlinks on the Webby documents that you brought in were functional, but you didn't have a way to edit them, and you couldn't create new ones. So happy to report that hyperlink authoring and creation and editing is back in Service Pack 1. So that's huge, of course. So we do have now, the hyperlink dialog box that's back. Remember, for you administrators out there, that you're going to need to make sure that you've got the ability to enable hyperlinks, JavaScript, and HTML elements checked for the Webby app properties in your CMC. So what does that mean? It means you can link to any URL, right? So you're good to go there. You can do inter-document linkage, and that includes, of course, prompts, anything on the document that you're linking to. You've got all that goodness in the dialog box. And you can do intra-document links as well, so move around the different pages. How do you want to switch tabs, if you will, from tab to tab within Webby document as well. So that's a huge thing that's back, and you can see that it whether it's external URLs, whether it's inter-document or intra-document, you're good to go with the creation and edit of those now. Customizations. So we've got actually a nicer, simpler way to do UI customizations. And so, we consider it easier compared to 4.2 for those of you who are on there. And so the new customization features let you do it from a much higher level granularity. So you can hide some features rather than trying to do it from an individual user interface element perspective. But like in 4.2, those customizations can be assigned in the CMC by user, by group, by folder, all those good things, right? From the export to standpoint, we're not doing that by security rights anymore. Really, it's more of a turning on or off the feature for the export to customizations, whether it's exporting to Excel, to PDF, to HTML, to text, and to CSV. So, for those who don't trust your end user population and you want to customize or need to customize more of what they can, or more importantly, can't do, we've got that UI customization capability in there now. Text as a data source is back in Service Pack 1. So that was missing in Service Pack 0. So, I think we're seeing more and more where people want to bring text files in, to assist in maybe one-off analyses, or it's just simply it's a data source that's the only way it can get to them. So that's a nice thing to have back. Exporting to CSV, we have a new delimiter for the columns. So you've got the ability to select the character that you want to use when you're separating those, when you're exporting to CSV. And then we also have modified or improved the formula editor. So one of the big requests, and this is actually, definitely came from some requests, we've improved the 2 position formulas when you're doing some string manipulations. So we've improved the straight up position function to have an optional start and end position. And so that's a big thing. And then we've got a new reverse position function when you want to start from the back side of the string pattern. So those were 2 requests that were put in, and we've met those. And then the usability enhancements for the formula editor were also big requests. So we've reorganized that window wizard. So you've got, you're able to see more objects, more functions, and more operators within the tree lists. And that's good for, low resolution screens, especially. You can, expand and collapse much better and see more. We've also, and again, it's one of those little things that you don't realize how annoying it is until it's not there for you. And so we've got the automatically adding parentheses after operators, and we're also, more importantly to me, we're adding spaces automatically after insertions of those operators. So when you've got, when you're trying to do some autocomplete and you're wondering, why that formula didn't work, it could have been a space, because that's vexed me a few times. But we've got those there. And then finally, we've got some predefined prompt formulas as well. So when you've got a document that has prompts and you want to, for instance, insert a cell from the toolbar, then you can have that the prompts available to you when you use the insert predefined cells menu options. And you can select to add then prompt summary formulas, and for each prompt, a cell with the answers of the prompt. So, again, could be minor, but I think, most Webby documents I've seen through the years have a lot of prompts. It's what makes them useful and efficient. And so I think this is a good thing for us there.
Yeah, so just a couple questions. The first one is, Does 4.3 support UNV?
Yes, we still do. So we're not forcing you to move to UNXs yet. But I'd say that's a big, yet is capitalized, bolded, and italicized. Especially when you're looking at some of the hybrid enhancements that we're trying to look at and what can use, pieces of the business objects repository. UNX is always the first thing we look at now. SAC, for instance, used to be only UNX capable. It now has UNV in the live data connector, but I would say, and Bruno, you guys, and Patrick, you guys deal in real life. I would recommend you start, a plan to move to UNXs, but you don't have to yet.
Well, Patrick, you've got any comments on that?
Well, no, I agree. You start working on a new project, a new universe, it should be UNX. There's no rush in converting your existing UNVs, but it's obvious that innovations will be in the IDT. So that's it's where you should be working on, and there's great new features. There was another question, Bruno. I'm not sure if it's on your list, but from Vishal, I think it's a great one. Are there any option for adding cascading prompts?
I did not see that in the list, as a matter of fact. So I think that's probably in, Service Pack 2 or 3. Because that's definitely always high on everyone's list, cascading prompts.
We can do cascading input controls, but it would be great to have it on prompts, that's for sure, yeah.
Yep, I agree.
You can put crystal reports.
Yes.
How about for the CMC? Are there changes on the security maintenance? That's a question from Arnold.
Not that I have seen, no. We've had some minor semantic layer changes in terms of data sources, but then nothing that I've seen from the plumbing and the CMC standpoint in Service Pack 1.
Okay. We got a question from Alphonse. Does anyone know what happens with the capability of publishing Webby table as web services? This feature was removed suddenly on 4.3 SPO from Webby Rich Client. Some slides promise that feature will come back on SP1.
Yeah, we have not been able to do as much with the Webby Rich Client as we wanted to aspirationally. So let's take a look at that, because I don't remember off the top of my head what we're looking at from a Service Pack 2 or 3 standpoint. So we'll get there when we talk about this.
And let's take just a last one before we continue from Mickey. Does customization should inherited customization when customizing a subgroup? I think something.
That I don't know. That is a new one on me. So I do not know. Bruno, if you could log that question, we could certainly.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Mickey, for, we're trying to have all the answers with our guys, but thanks a lot, Mickey. Maybe we've got Gregory behind the scene who can type us the answer to let you know, Mickey. That was a good catch, it's so.
Yeah, that's definitely a new one on me. Okay, so back to prompt enhancements. So talking about prompts, so not custom, we're past customizations now, but back into prompts. So you can now sort your list of values, which is nice, whether that is in the prompts or the query panel filters, which is nice. So ascending or descending, or just don't sort them. And then for queries that are based on HANA or BW, just a note on how your prompts are displayed, and it starts with BW or HANA key dates first, then HANA or BW variables in the order that they are defined in the underlying system, and then prompts created in the query panel or the universe follow those. And I think someone's got their microphone on. I'm hearing background. All right, so Rich Client. So as I said before, we did not get to do as much to Rich Client as I think we had aspirationally set for the summer. You are able to download the Rich Client installation from the BI Launchpad directly now with Service Pack 1. And we've got some some string capabilities that we've done so using your Control F find within the text fields that we have in the rich client at this point. So nothing, too earth-shattering from the rich client, but I think you'll see more focus on that in upcoming service packs. Okay, so that's it for Webby. Let's move on to the semantic layer and data sources. And so we do have 2 new data sources. And obviously, of course, the PAM is available as well for new database versions. I had several requests this week, for instance, regarding SQL Server 19. And so I'm happy to say that I do know from viewing the PAM that SQL Server 19 is good for both the CMS and for data connectivity. But the 2 new key ones that we're highlighting in the service pack are first MongoDB through both the JDBC and ODBC drivers. And I think more importantly, for those who are into the bigger picture of the analytics, data plus analytics story with SAP, Data Warehouse Cloud now has a dedicated data source. So we previously in 4.3 Service Pack 0, you've been able to do that through using the HANA driver, but now we have a native, if you will, Data Warehouse Cloud or dedicated data connection that we can do to Data Warehouse Cloud. So I think that's a big thing for us moving from the strategy standpoint. And then we get to the Launchpad. So first, some scheduling and publishing enhancements. So first, you can display your instances in either your list view or calendar view. So you've got a nice toggle now to switch between those. We've added a reply to text field for your emailing capabilities. So, I'm sure we all get the do not reply to this this capability. So it's nice to have that reply to text field for you there. And you've also got formatting available to you for the message in which the schedule or published document is attached. So you've got bold, italicized fonts, colors, things that you can do. So it just gives you a nicer end product, if you will, for the end users when you're using the scheduling and publishing. From the visual and usability of the Launchpad itself, we've got some new capabilities in the settings dialog box. There's a database credentials tab that you may have seen in your user account, and you can now modify the data sources, data source references that are defined by the administrator in the CMC. And these can be used as secondary credentials when you're authenticating into those connections. We also have new BI Launchpad themes that are available under the Appearance tab. And so you can select those to modify your Launchpad, giving you, especially someone like me with my old eyes, as I've referenced twice now, a high contrast display, which I find the modernization of the user experience seems to use thin, washed out colors that my eyeballs can't adjust to. So I like those high contrast capabilities. So that's a nice thing that we've got put in there too. And then the display of your Launchpad. So this is nice. You can order the tiles in both your top line and your applications. So you can, put your most frequently used applications up first on the left or on the right if you read from right to left. And from the top line, you can decide which tiles you're looking at, whether it's documents, whether it's folders, categories, instances, inbox tiles, all those. So that home top section is now something that you can reorder for yourself to make it more usable for you. In terms of how you browse content, this goes back to, again, it could seem minor, but I think when you're trying to reach that least common denominator user, it's key. We've aligned all of the different icons that we use for the file types when you're browsing your content. It's aligned with not only kind of, when you look at Adobe or Microsoft, it makes sense, but also for other things, it actually aligns to your other SAP applications. So things like text files and agnostic files, or SAP items that you might see in there too, those all conform now across the SAP space. So, it's just, again, minor tweak, but I think it's something that helps with the feeling of the usability for those least common denominator users. And that's it from the SP1 enhancement side. Before I get into timelines and such, any questions that popped up in that last little round?
Yeah, it's a couple of questions. So we have a questions from Gutav. So Gutav is asking, do you plan to provide real BI on BI capabilities in 4.3?
So I'm assuming that means auditing and such from a BI on BI standpoint. Is that, I don't know. How do you guys take that question?
Well, maybe Gutav, if you can comment, but maybe that's more towards like BI on BI, like what we would do in 360, I guess.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
Maybe Gutav just get 360 Suite and get 360 eyes. It'll do all the BI on BI capabilities that you want. So that's
I would love to say that we do it more, but that's really actually why partners like Bruno and 360 are so successful, is because they are constantly filling in the cracks that we simply move past or just don't prioritize well enough. And a lot of our auditing and our BI on BI, quite frankly, is very well done by 360 and the tools that they've built.
Well, if you say good things like that, Patrick, we have to hire you as well. So, we've actually got an opening, and we've got some openings as well for support in the Montreal office. So, you're more than welcome to move over. So, okay, let's take another question. Let me just go through the questions right now, and then we'll go forward. Okay, a question from Phoebe. Can you hide a title on the top line for all users via CMC? Don't know what that refers to.
Not sure on that one. Again, I haven't seen as much, the CMC references that we had in terms of what you can do from the scheduling, the modification of the Launchpad, and the customizations. That's really, I think, all we've added in the CMC was for those enhancement features.
And we had a question. That's a great transition from Suman, who was asking, when SP2 was out. So, and
all right,
Suman anyway, just hey, try out SP1 before talking about SP2. But I'll let you continue.
Well, that's perfect. So here we are on the timeline. And again, I don't know why we have to continue to stress this, but BobJ 4.3 is on a 7-year runway, which is the current SAP sanctioned product runway for everything that we release. So again, for those who are trying to say, BobJ's dead, no, and every time you see the 7-year thing, which I wish we would stop stressing, because we're simply, it's available. But so we're looking at least 2027, and then when other major point releases will come out, we'll move on from there. But so we went GA in June, and then Service Pack 1 went GA about maybe 10 days ago, I think. And so Service Pack 2 is due a year from now, and then we'll go from Service Pack 3 as well. Obviously, there will be hot fixes and patches. And the maintenance schedule is publicly available for those of you who have your SAP support portal access. But this is what the timeline is right now, is Q4 of 21 is when we would see Service Pack 2. What might Service Pack 2 look like? So the key themes for Service Pack 2 are, number one, bringing shared elements back in. They're obviously supported, but we want to make sure that we can better enhance them and modify them now. Extension points as well. We also want to bring back Zavo to Webby Rich Client. Haven't seen that as that term in a long time, so I was happy to see that. The ability to freeze the Webby table headers, support of both Query Web Service and DAWs as well, with new interfaces to support those use cases. Open document APIs to better support output to OData v4. and then also the ability to consume data flows via Open Document for OData v4. And then supporting Google Drive and Google Sheets as a source for your both data source and for output as well. Those are kind of the key things we're looking at for Service Pack 2, as well as then, and as I said throughout the presentation, all of the requests that the customer makes, are being paid attention to. They're paid attention to every quarter and prioritized and are added in. And so some of those may even be added in, not just in the Service Pack, but in hot fixes and things like that. From a Service Pack 3 perspective, right now, the list, and by the way, this is the list as it stands. Again, with the timeline of looking at, Q4 21, there's a lot of intervening time for us to expand this list or refocus it, maybe shift things from Service Pack 2 to Service Pack 3 based on your input. So keep that coming. But from a Service Pack 3 standpoint, Webby alerting, displaying the data provider path from a Webby standpoint, being able to hide specific reports in a Webby document, auto changing the way your report is displayed when you're auto refreshing it, adding trellis charts and trend lines. That's always a huge thing that we see and very useful in SAC. And then quick UI enhancements that, again, come directly from you, the customer base, that you think or we think are going to improve the adoption of Webby. So that's your rather not so exhaustive list right now of what we're looking at from a Service Pack 2 and 3 perspective. And with that, I'm going to open it back to questions. And, I did get some Christmas in there, Bruno. I have my little, 4.3 Service Pack 1 Webby box that hopefully Santa's bag is carrying for everybody.
So you've probably been nice enough, Patrick. You just leave some cookies and some milk next to the chimney for Christmas. You've probably been good enough. So.
Well, thank you, Bruno.
Thank you very much, Patrick. So I think we'll go and take a couple more questions. We've still got plenty of time, so that's great. So first of all, by the way, before I forget, and you ask all your questions, is there's going to be a link actually with a satisfaction survey. And you can take it. So it's going to be in the comments, I guess. And also it's going to be on the same window where you've got LinkedIn right now. So please feel free to take it. We have a lot of questions around, will you be sharing the presentation? Yeah, of course, we'll be sharing it, the recording and the presentation. So, have no worries about that.
And I might add to that, Bruno, too. I'm sure that on the analytics, SAP Analytics YouTube channel, they're not there yet, but you're going to start to see some of these in video form as well. So, I would imagine the hyperlink wizard, the customization, you'd probably see those first. But, those kinds of videos are going to start to pop up, probably January timeframe. But, yeah, they'll be there.
And actually talking about YouTube, we've actually got a YouTube channel where this recording will be available, as well as some bunch of past webinars. So we had one around how to upgrade to 4.3. There was another great webinar that we did with Webby for me maybe a month and a half ago or so around how to create dashboards in Webby.
I love that one.
Yeah, there are a lot of stuff. And actually, realistically, I think in 90% of the cases, you can actually do your dashboards in Webby. And the 10 other percent, you should, go for SAC or whatever solution. And talking about that, I'd actually be interested to know in the audience outside of BobJ, what are the other BI solutions that you guys are using? Are you using SAC? Are you using Tableau, Power BI? Just simple curiosity. I'd be interested to know what's the other BI solution you guys are using. So we have, let's take some questions. So we have a question from Eve Van Gestel asking, will there be support for output on SharePoint?
Oh, so that's. I'm wondering if Gregory might be on for that one because I have not seen anything on the roadmap for better enhancing anything that we do from a SharePoint standpoint.
And we haven't either. And actually, that's something that we support with 360cast. We've got a question from Jignazu asking any change in enhancements to promotion management.
Not at this time. Not with Service Pack 1.
What are the key things for us to upgrade to 4.3 from a platform point of view? From Suresh.
I actually might pass that back to you guys since you do that in real life versus me being the theorist on that one. But my opinion from what I've seen and heard in the field is that it's really just the same as it's always been in terms of going from say 4.1 to 4.2. There's nothing, a lot of the work and the new look and feel and everything, that's all done kind of automagically for you. I don't know that there's anything specific that Patrick or Bruno may have seen in going to 4.3 Service Pack 0 that specifically they might want to call out. To me, it seems like it's kind of normal what you do when you're going from point release to point release.
Yeah, I agree. Same process when you move from 4.0 to 4.1 or 4.1 to 4.2. We've done webinars on this not long ago, so you'll see these recordings on our YouTube channel. And I wrote a couple of blogs as well on the different methods, applying a service 4.3 on top of your 4.2 versus a side-by-side upgrade. So have a look at our website, our YouTube channel. It was the DC webinar. I've even done a top 10 checklist of things to do. So a lot of content on our website and our YouTube
thank
channel.
you very much. When will SAP Data Services be supported by 4.3?
Not sure I understand the question there because really it's data services is what it is, and you could be using it today, and the data results that you have from data services can be fed to 4.3 as easily as 4.2.
There's a question, there's a mismatch on timestamp in 4.3 SP1. That's a question from Amaranat.
If there's a mismatch, then I would say that's something to throw up to support. Unless you mean, I'm assuming that you're meaning from the actual technical usage of 4.3 versus marketing talks about releases. So I would say if there's an issue with the timestamp, then let's get that escalated up to support so that and I'll make sure that Gregory Badicchio from product management knows that there could be an issue there.
Does 4.3 support Smartsheets?
Not yet. That's actually what we're looking at, I think, in Service Pack 2 or Service Pack 3.
Actually,
unless there's a connector you're aware of, Patrick.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't know myself, so do you want to expand on Smartsheets for the other 500 people here who might not know what it is?
Yeah, it's funny. I use it with some folks internally. I think it's a Microsoft product. I'm not actually really sure, but it's think of it as Smartsheets are a variation on the spreadsheet world that you might want to use as a data source. We can do it with SAC. So there, and actually, I would assume we could do it with BobJ as well, because I believe SAC uses OData connections or ODBC connections, excuse me. So while it may not be directly called out in the PAM, I would assume that from a generic ODBC connector, you might be able to connect to Smartsheets and use them with Webby. So thank you for making me think that through further, Patrick.
So, by the way, on the question on what other BI solution, our audience is using, it seems okay. Of course, we got a little bit of mix of everything, considering the amount of people that are live. But I would say the first trend would be Power BI, and then the second one I would say would be Tableau. And it's always kind of interesting to see so many people are using actually multiple BI tools. So there's BobJ, and people are using SAC, Tableau, Power BI together. So that's pretty common. That's a common trend that we would see with most of our customers.
Absolutely. Especially with the, little wanting to use little visual type things or agile visualizations, agile self-service stuff that, but then you've got the enterprise aspect that Bobji's always filled better than any other competitor out there. And then, the ability to hopefully bring some of that audience back to Webby with some of the user experience enhancements and modifications that we've done.
Does that? I have no idea about that. I've got a question from Ravi again. Does 4.3 support Presto database?
Ooh, I don't even know what Presto database is. We'd have to look at the PAM directly to see how we get there. I'm sure if there's a generic connector though that we could tap into it, that we could certainly use that.
And there was one actually earlier that was asking if it was supporting Google BigQuery. I've seen that earlier. So I know it supports Snowflake. I don't know about Google Query.
Yeah, I believe Service Pack 0, we included that. So we'd have to check to confirm, but I'm pretty sure it was in Service Pack 0.
No, it is. I've seen it. Yeah,
okay.
It's there.
And to Patrick Sims, there's been a lot of questions on that topic. Is people are asking, why you're only supporting, like one service pack this year.
That one I do not have an answer for. I think the list that we saw, there will be much more in it, and I do think that we will see hot fixes along the way. But honestly, product management has not shared with me why, what their priorities are. I would assume that they might change, but I can't guarantee that. But I would assume that those priorities may change, and that we might get more service packs in. At least, maybe we'll get 2 in next year.
Okay. We've got another question from Arindam. Will Java SDK libraries be available in public repositories like Maven?
I don't think so. I mean, the API is open, but you have to be licensed for it to be able to use it, generally speaking. So I think that those libraries are, honestly, I don't know whether the SDK libraries are available publicly, but you do need to be licensed to be able to use them. I can tell you that.
Question from a LinkedIn user. So actually, if you've got a hidden profile, we actually can't show your name, but there's a question prior to 4.3. If you have multiple documents open in Launchpad, you have the ability to pin them open so that they are there the next time you log in. Is this coming back in 4.3?
I believe it is, and you can see actually the starting of that is with one of the Service Pack 1 enhancements, where when it might not be pinned, but when you open a document back up again, all of the settings of what you were doing are preserved for you. So yeah, this is a request that's in play for us to be able to pin those. Not in Service Pack 1, but yes, it's an understood request.
There's a question from Jeevan asking, can we build real-time Webby reports or SAC stories on IDT?
Trying to think. I mean, from SAC, yes, because SAC uses the universe as a genuine live connector. So real-time being, to me, I use the term live now because real-time, of course, means different things to different people in terms of how often they update the underlying data stores. So yeah, from a live standpoint, yes, both SAC using the universe, but also Webby using it as well. It's as real time as you want it to be.
Yeah, and what I would add to that is, if you're expecting to see charts or information moving live as if you watch TV, that's not in Webby. But Webby has an auto refresh feature. So if you want to plug your Webby dashboard on your TV and have it refresh every 5 minutes to see updated data, that would be a way of doing that, I guess.
Yeah, we've seen people do that, even less than 5 minutes, more down to the second and things like that. Which, I don't know that that's an efficient use of Webby myself. I think that there are tools out there to do that DVR kind of streaming that you're after that are perhaps better suited for it, and we even have some custom extension possibilities for that for both Webby and SAC.
There's a question from Jorg, actually on YouTube. Can we customize the Launchpad in 4.3?
We're getting there. So the minor fixes that we have now, where you can customize the order of your tiles, is a start. But we will continue to enhance that to give you, and also the theme. And so you should, I would foresee customized themes coming soon to a theater near you, as well as then the ability to do more with those tiles, perhaps adding graphics and images and things like that, other than just the icon. Those are all the things that I've seen talked about with the Launchpad.
There is another question. As a BI consultant, should we prioritize SAC over Webby tool?
I'd say that all comes down to your customers and their use cases, realistically. Webby, Webby is still, I think, the most powerful BI tool out there. It doesn't have, the augmented and the planning aspect of SAC, but I think from a down and dirty mathematical, statistical, functional, analytic perspective, I think Webby is still the Cadillac of BI tools. And so I think for users with that kind of a need and to have that kind of output, to include banded reporting, more formatted reporting, I think Webby is still the best case there. But SAC does bring in a planning aspect. It has what if capabilities for you. It's got the augmented analytics thing. So, the ability for you to use, in fact, not just the universe, but Webby, a Webby document as a data source to extend the analysis with SAC. I think that hybrid use case is very, very compelling. From anything from a user change management perspective, that people who still want to use that Webby document can use it, to the offline banded pixel perfect operational report look and feel that you want from it, but also more compelling visuals you can add to it. But I just think that each still has its own place, and I don't think that competitors have anything akin to the combination of Webby plus SAC. So I think that any given competitor's tool is not going to come anywhere near meeting the mail for what you can get from the combined efforts of Webby plus SAC.
Okay. By the way, we've also got a referral program I just want to talk about today. So if you guys are interested to join our referral program, just type referral in the comment box, and we'll be more than happy to get back to you. So it's a great program. And additionally, one thing I want to say earlier is we've actually put in place a methodology to help you upgrade. So we've been doing that for over 10 years. Actually 13 years or 14 years right now. Is we put in place a 10-step methodology that will help you to typically do your migration upgrades in most cases, it's going to be like 70 or 80% faster. So it's very, very well proven, and we've done that on hundreds of customers. And we've got actually 2 packages around the upgrade. So there's the professional and the advanced. And so you can just select whatever you want out of that. So if you've got some interest, just say, contact me in the comment box. So that was nice. Additionally, there is actually a satisfaction survey and the presentations that are posted right now on the LinkedIn event. So just feel free just to click on them to answer them and then to get the recording afterwards. That would be very nice. So anything else to add? I don't know, Patrick, how much you've time, how long you've got left. I know we've passed the hour.
I'm here as long as you want me, Bruno, so I'm good.
Patrick Perrier, for how long do you want to answer questions? Should we take a couple more? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, let's do a couple more. There's been quite a few questions from many people about either the PAM, about if we need license keys for 4.3, which yes, you need to generate your license keys. I wrote a blog on the SAP community. If you just search for BI 4.3 SP1, and I've added a lot of different links coming from different areas of the SAP website about all these kind of Q&As for SP1. So hopefully you'll find all these informations in that blog.
Question, and that's a common question, is I think that was from Alexander. Any plans to open connections from BobJ Universes to Tableau? And we have the same for Power BI.
So you, as a customer who is licensed for the product, you could use the SDK to build that yourself. But no, we will not productize that. Neither Tableau nor Microsoft are willing to join our partner community, which is the first step that you have to do. We looked at trying to monetize that in the past, and those negotiations fell down. By the way, if someone's trying to sell you a tool that will do that, they are out of legal compliance. Just to put my lawyer hat on for a minute. No, I mean, the universe is still the secret sauce, obviously, but you yourselves can use the SDK to develop pathways to the universe for those other tools, which I shall not name. Curse at you so early in the morning. But yeah, there's nothing in play right now to return to that, even notionally.
And specifically to your point, Patrick, that's exactly why we're certified, and we don't do that because we know it's illegal. And we know there are some people out there that are selling things around that, but it's a very, very risky bet for you, for your company, and probably your future in the industry.
Yeah.
If you get nailed, the odds are Christmas won't be fun.
Yeah. And to put the sales hat on for that one, I know there are many out there who were disappointed in the whole Lumira storyline, and what we did with SAC and such. But and I myself was a late adopter to SAC. I'll admit that. Just don't tell anyone from SAP that I said that. But I think I would say if you see the value of the universe, you see the value of what you've put in from a BobJ standpoint, perhaps take another look if you haven't seen it in a year or more at SAC and what we're doing from the hybrid standpoint, because I think you'll see that, Webby especially plus SAC is a very interesting combination of capabilities, I think, for your end users to truly get the biggest bang for your existing investment buck, plus kind of where you want to go. I would just encourage you, maybe if that's why you went to Tableau or Power BI or one of those because SEC wasn't up to snuff and you weren't sure about the Lumira story, I would encourage you to take a look at SEC once again.
I would agree with you.
As we've had many chats.
Yeah. Over long nights.
Yes.
Not to say more. Do we have any inbuilt option to get the universe document?
No, nothing added to the IDT there to better document the universe at this point in 4.3. It's still the same.
Okay.
So feel free to have a look at 360 Eyes. We can do that.
We've got another question or a comment from Corbin. So Corbin is just saying, contact me. He was answering questions. So Corbin, if you want, just put your phone number in the chat box and everybody will be happy to call you. I'm not sure you want that.
Be overwhelmed.
So, and eventually we'll give your name and address as well. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun for you. So, yeah. And as well, Corbin was just saying, joke aside, yeah, hybrid will be the way to go for years to come. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree. I mean, for those who've looked at SEC, that we're trying to, kind of add, for instance, operational reporting, if you will. But to me, the scheduling and publishing, the mass bursting offline. I mean, there's still people who actually, take their Webby documents offline and use them that way. Those things aren't going away, and they're certainly not solved, I don't think, in the cloud in an easy way. They're not the sexiest aspects of it, but I think it is something that's there. And again, too, Webby as an analytic tool is far superior to anything else on the market right now, I would say, right? So you've got your folks who get very hung up on the visual storytelling aspect with the tableaus and the clicks and those kinds of things. But there's still a genuine need in, especially more power business analyst types, to really do some in-depth calculation work and mathematic work that you can't do in those tools, and that frankly SAC is not there yet either. But SAC then provides that nice ability to extend what you've done by adding some of those smart assist features, by adding smart discovery and the natural language that someone asked about earlier, and also the ability to continue that from a crystal standpoint as well. So I think that extending the stuff that's served you well these many decades is a key thing to the hybrid aspect. And especially another thing that we see with cloud adoption is that people really like the live data connection aspect of things. And so when you're in SAP world, whether it's BW and HANA, that's certainly nice, but the universe as a live data connection mechanism is huge to you. It, number one, keeps the universe and the metadata joys for that end user population, but then lets them do it in the cloud from a tooling standpoint with all those new capabilities they can do, but still against that live and conformed and secure data that you have via the universe.
And Patrick Perry, do you've got any questions or any comments to do around the hybrid approach of what Corbin mentioned?
We did a webinar with Ken from the Red Cross a while ago, and he had a lot of good things to say about hybrid, about the pros and cons of live connections and importing data, and that was I think that was hosted on the SAP Insider as well. So a great webinar to look at, and it's a very powerful offering, that's for sure. Yeah.
And we see a lot of people anyway just going towards hybrid. That seems to be more than a trend. So, by the way, for people that are still looking for Corbin, because he didn't share his details, is he lives next to the Tim Hortons in Canada. So there are a lot of Tim Hortons. So.
Which is always good.
If he was in the States, I'd say next to the Starbucks, next to the Dunkin', something like that. That would work out well.
Yes.
There is a question asking, when is 4.3 SP1 available? From Marty's, I think.
I think it was 10 days ago. It's available now, Marty. So it's been out for about 10 days at this point.
Yeah, for sure. As I was saying initially, as we were talking with one of our SAP deployments, and they've actually downloaded last week. And I know Friday or yesterday he was in the process of installing. So,
it was released on the 9th. So just about a week ago.
6 days ago.
And there's another question from Brian Kudera. What direction do on-premise customers have for Lumira Discovery look and feel? There was no alternative offered without spending more money and buying SAC.
Well, I would say that Webby is starting to feel a little like Lumira Discovery. It obviously feels more like SAC, but there were things that SAC took from Lumira and vice versa. So I would say that for no money, Webby certainly is taking on some of that user experience feel. But obviously Lumira is designed to be more of an agile BI tool versus the kind of the Cadillac that Webby is. But perhaps it can appeal to some of that these common denominator type user without moving to SAC. But SAC certainly is where I would look for more of that as well.
There is a question from Nathan. Let's try another way. Will the dashboarding features from Lumira be added to Webby or another on-premise product before 2024?
So no to that one. So the follow-on to Lumira Designer will be SAC. Having said that, and again, I think what we've talked about from Bruno and Patrick with some of the videos that they've done, Webby itself now it has more compelling visuals. It's got the visual extension capability that you had with Lumira. So in order, it really depends on what you call a dashboard. I would say from a dashboard standpoint, Webby can probably meet, as Bruno said earlier, maybe 90% of the mail of what you need. If you then really delve into the no kidding application building, where you're wanting to code those guide lanes and guardrails, then SAC is the follow-on for that. We're moving that out of the on-premise world. But from a purely dashboarding standpoint, that's one, that term means so many different things to so many different people. I would say that Webby still can meet that mail in perhaps better ways, more efficient ways than even a Lumira or Tableau or Qlik, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Sims and I had this chat in a previous webinar. Dashboarding is such a loose word between, dashboards and applications, right, and these things can do. And you need to be honest to be clear about what your use cases are indeed and what it is you want to do. If you want to stream stuff, it's not going to be in Webby. Obviously, it's not been designed for that. So if you want buttons all over the place, which looks like an app, that's not Webby either. And again, not been designed for this. So, but for the rest of the 98% use cases of the BI and analytics world, you'll be happy with Webby for sure. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions around Lumira, and a lot of people, of course, they spend a lot of time developing around Lumira, and they're just concerned, that all the efforts that they spent is.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, I mean, the good news though too is that while we may not enhance the ability for you after December 31st, 2024 to, further modify or enhance that application, it's still going to be a live functioning thing that you can access from the Launchpad or from even Analytics Hub, right? But, it just my point there is that it gives you time to move to whatever the next thing is you're going to want, whether it's analytics design, whether it's just letting people build their own stories in SAC, whether it's using Webby for that purpose. I think, you've got time to figure that out based on your use case.
And another one is, we should have done that contents today. So, sorry about that, Patrick, but, I just see your sweater. It's kind of unusual. Is this part of the contest that you do for Christmas where who's got the ugliest sweater? Or is this one that your wife offered you that you've got to wear?
it's because that's what we do in London, but the ugliest weather, Bruno. I think you'd win.
I probably agree. I probably should have worn that one, but that's always a joke here. And I was wondering if it was the same in the UK or not. Sorry about that. It was a question I had to ask you. So anyway, and you know what? Let's just take okay. Let's just take one last question because this time is flying, and I know we could just go on and on. And so. How about Bobj mobile apps for Android and iOS? Will they support 4.3 SP1 features? Because mobility, the mobile in general has been an issue for Bobj customers, and I think that's a very legitimate question.
Yeah. So yes, that is in plans right now. We were hoping to have really Webby is the key thing there, right? So as you know now in the current version of Mobi, like not all chart types are supported, things like that. So yes, it is definitely a part of our plan to have both the Android and iOS app more closely mimic. And notionally what we're after is that the Webby experience, whether you are in Webby Rich Client, whether you're in Webby in the browser or Webby on your mobile device, it will all be the same. So that is actually the aspirational goal of 4.3. Where we are in that process, I honestly do not know. I have not talked to the mobile folks who are a separate entity in a month or so. But yes, that is definitely in our plans. It is part of what we've touted for 4.3.
Hey guys, I think we'll just stop here for today. That was really an awesome event we had today. It was really great to have both of you. And, there's been, I'm sure, over 100 questions. I'm sure more than that. I don't have the exact numbers, but that seemed to have been very, very popular. And considering we had over 1,000 registrants, that's really very, very nice. So Bobj's still there, out and strong, and there are a lot of good stuff happening with hybrid as well that you need to look into. So, you'll be getting the recording. That there'll be something that will be shared to you with the links. It's already actually available for the recording on LinkedIn. Make sure that you take some time just to fill out the survey. And, we'd really appreciate to get your feedback and tell us, how we did or if we should get fired. I don't know. But anyway.
Merry Christmas.
But we really, we had really an awesome time. So, thanks all for joining. Happy holidays to all of you. And just make sure that you're nice for Santa, and I've tried to be a nice boy during the whole year. So probably my wife wouldn't agree, but, my kids probably do. So, happy holidays to all of you. Great to have you all on. Thanks all, folks.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Bruno.
Thank you.